Hello, and welcome to this week's Glasstire Top Five. It is the week of December 6th, 2018. I'm Brandon Zech.
I'm Rainey Knudson.
And we're Skyping because you are in El Paso today?
I'm speaking tonight at the El Paso Museum of Art. So if you're in El Paso, please come hear the story of Glasstire. That is what I'll be talking about. It should be fun, what I've learned, why we do this crazy thing, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll be doing filing a report from Juarez as well.
And that's tonight, Thursday night at
6 o'clock at the El Paso Museum of Art. And number 5, and I'm as surprised about this as anybody, okay? Brandon, I don't want any guff about this, honestly. It is this stupid British royalty portrait show at the MFAH. I'm not kidding. Tudors to Windsors, they're calling it. When I got the press materials for this and I saw the Mario Testino photographs of Princess Diana, I was like, ugh. But I went and I saw it because I was hoping for some Holbein, and indeed, they have one actual Hans Holbein, which is a portrait of Henry VIII. It's not the Holbein, they're not going to send that to us, but it's a decent picture. And what's interesting to me, and why I'm recommending this show, is not for the rooms and rooms of mediocre pictures of unattractive people, and there are rooms and rooms of that. But for the early room, the Tudor works, they have some truly outstanding pieces, including, I think, one of the finest portraits I've ever seen, which is of Sir Thomas More, who, if you know your English history of Henry VIII, was the one who was opposed to Henry getting a divorce from his first wife and was therefore put to death. There's also the one and only portrait of Thomas Cromwell for you Wolf Hall fans. And then there is a painting that I used to go sit in front of as a young, impressionable, romantic person living in London. It's a 19th century super saccharine, but it's so beautiful and so of Jane Grey. It's an academic picture. Again, don't give me guff about this, but Jane Grey, it's worth seeing is what I'm saying.
It's the MFA's blockbuster fall show, and it opened in October. It's going to be up through the end of January. It's the perfect show to take your parents to take your grandparents to. Number 4 this week is at Blue Star Contemporary. It's an artwork, a billboard by Adriana Corral called Unearthed Desenterrado. It's an image of a flag that she had originally flown at a different location in Texas, but this is part of Four Freedoms, 50 States initiative, which is a billboard project that this organization, Four Freedoms, is doing. This is Four Freedoms, the organization. It's always been politically involved, so it's really kind of taken on its own language and its own initiative. All of this is to say, this is going to be on view through January. If you're at Blue Star, you can't miss it. It's a billboard on top of Blue Star Contemporary.
Number 3, I went to Galveston this past weekend and saw the show Robert Ruello at the Galveston Artist Residency. Ruello, of course, is a painter that we're all very familiar with in Houston because he has shown for years and years at Inman Gallery. He is wedded to the grid and dots, and some iteration of those things tend to appear in all of his abstract paintings. What was so interesting about this show, and what I was so excited to see, were these works on paper that he's made that show where he's getting this imagery from. Beautiful watercolor and acrylic paintings of the moon craters, celestial observations. He has a whole series that are reproductions or his interpretations of these horizon line drawings that Galileo did, where Galileo figured out that we are actually not the center of the universe. And there are also 3 incredible inkjet prints that I couldn't even believe the pigmentation that Ruello got out of these. I couldn't believe they were digital. They do not look like digital prints until you get super, super close. But all of these works on paper, in addition to these big paintings where he's using flash, to me, this was kind of a revelation. Apparently it was big in the 60s and 70s. This very, very matte. You really see the surface and the texture of the canvas itself. It's almost like a dye.
Number 2 this week is a show that's opening on December 7th. It's a show called Family Reunion at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. This exhibition specifically is a big group show of Fort Worth artist collectives. So there's Art Luck, there's Art Room, there's Dying Photo Club, there's Fort Worth Art Collective, there's Latino Hustle, there's Mañana Land, Sam Gallery, and there's probably be others thrown in. I wouldn't be surprised. personally, Christina kind of recommended this show for us. I don't know if I knew that there were this many Fort Worth-based art collectives. Showing all of these collectives has kind of been a trend. There have been a few other shows happening this fall. So if anything, it'll be a really good view of art that's happening in Fort Worth and of all these Fort Worth collectives.
And number one this week is a show also in Galveston at the Galveston Arts Center. Now, last week, you and Henry Sanchez talked about Kaneem Smith's show downstairs, and there's also Renata Lucia's work upstairs. But this video by Lina Dib, you said you saw it Day for Night last year?
So at Day for Night, this piece, or the piece that was very similar, was kind of, drowned out a little bit, and the subtlety of it was lost when there were a bunch of people around it, when there was other noise in the space.
And I actually was standing there with Eric Schnell, and he was like, you have to walk up to it. I was like, what's the deal? When you walk up and when you approach it, the software reacts to your presence in front of the image and actually moves the image in response to your own movements. I've seen so much bad interactive video over the years, and this was very smooth. And the other thing about it is she desaturates it and changes the sound. So I think it's a commentary about humans and nature fundamentally. What's really cool is the way when you step away from it, it immediately goes back to the light saturated, color saturated, normal sound shot of a beach.